Hey everybody, welcome to the Collecting the King show. This is episode 27. Usually we have a fancy song title for each episode. We're just simply calling this episode the top 10 most valuable movie soundtracks, which is why I'm wearing my favorite movie shirt from my favorite movie and my favorite soundtrack. We're going to analyze, in my opinion, and Jerry Osborne's and the book, and based on other experiences of mine as a collector and as a dealer, what I think the top 10 most valuable records are. And we're going to start, of course, with number 10 and work our way to number 1. So that's what this one's going to be all about. But before we get started, we'd like to remind you that if you like the show, be sure and hit the like button. If you want to subscribe, you can click on the subscribe button. Then after that, click on the bell to be notified about all future shows. This top 10 list is basically my opinion, but it is based upon Presleyana over the years. That's the book authored by Jerry Osborne and edited by myself. I went through the book and I picked out what the big ones were. And then, of course, there hasn't been a Presleyana for like 6 years. So I had to kind of pick some that I saw the values go up on, either at shows or online and this and that. And speaking of online and values, now you have to understand the difference between an auction price and like a price guide price. Price guides, of course, are just estimates. You know, they're really there for information. And I've said that many, many times about Presleyana. It's not the Bible. I mean, there are exceptions to the rule. It's done by human beings, so we make mistakes. And you'll find mistakes in Presleyana. I have seen Pickwick albums, which all collectors know are really incredibly super common and well, they're not worthless, but they certainly are the least valuable of any Elvis record. I've seen Pickwick albums go for $400 or $500 still sealed. Does that mean that a still sealed copy of You'll Never Walk Alone on Pickwick is worth $500? No. Now, I guess you have to have experience, which I have from the book and from doing shows for over 40 years, to know that a Pickwick album is not that valuable. So obviously somebody who paid $500 for it didn't know, and they're inexperienced. And that's how that kind of stuff happens. I think it's people who have a lack of knowledge about the value of Elvis's records. A lot of people love top 10 lists. I don't know about you, but I'll go on Facebook and then I'll see like the top 10 Elvis songs of all time or the top 10 movies of all time. Well, this is a collecting show and this is about collecting. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to do the top 10 most valuable Elvis movie soundtracks. So let's get to it. Starting off with number 10. Clambake, Monaural. Now, Clambake is somewhere in the region of, $350. And that's for a mint copy. And I'm saying mint, all right? We're not talking, it's got a tear here, it's got a bend there, or the record's got a few scratches. I'm talking about mint. And here's a good time to folks to explain what mint is. Mint means that it's as if you walked in the store and bought it and walked out of the store with it in the shrink wrap. That's mint, okay? And so that's when I say mint, that's what I'm talking about. So number 10 is Clambake, Monaural. Now the history of that is RCA was pressing stereos and monos, okay, of every album starting in 1960. A lot of people call Monaurals mono, but technically it's a monaural record, not an M-O-N-O. M-O-N-Os, which we'll talk about in a little bit, are much more valuable, but we're talking about monaurals right now. And the monaural came around in about 1964. It slowly died out. By the time we got to Double Trouble, the release of Double Trouble, the sales of the monaural album were getting pretty slim. So I don't know if it was RCA or retailers, record stores, put on a manufacturer's sticker on Double Trouble saying they were going to be, focusing on stereo that signaled the end of the monaural releases, and that was Double Trouble. Right after Double Trouble came Clambake. So Clambake was a part of that decline of monaural pressings. Even though Double Trouble was still in more abundance, Clambake had a lesser run. Number 9. Roustabout on silver stereo, the very, very first pressing. This album, folks, I just happen to have here. Those of you know, Roustabout is my favorite album, and it got me started on Elvis Presley. And so here we go. This is the actual silver stereo first pressing of Roustabout. Man, I'll tell you, the value of this thing has got to be higher than the book. I looked it up at Presleyanna, and Presleyanna says $300, and that's an old price because I bought this in, oh my God, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, and I paid $300 for it then. It's got to be worth like $500 now. It's got to be in that range. And again, we're talking mint, like it just came out of the store. And I'll give you an example here. I'm going to open this up, take out on my handy Japanese sleeve. All right. Oh, and just for fun, you'll notice I had I found this ad, a magazine ad. I don't know what magazine it's from, but I was at some show and somebody had this for sale, and I thought, oh, I got to get that. It's kind of a cool ad from a magazine in 1964. So I don't know. I just kept it with the album. I separate the album from the cover, but let me show you the cover. The cover is not much of a big deal because, this cover was used for the 64 reissues. And it actually, I think they used it all the way up to 68, if I'm correct, or 69. Any cover like this will do because there's nothing on it. There's no RE or there's no way of telling that this is a first pressing cover. Okay, not technically there isn't. All right, and then the big deal is here. This is the big deal, and that would be. And by the way, the 63 albums, the silver monos and the silver stereos, they came in this sleeve. This is a generic RCA sleeve. That's what it looks like on this side, and this is what it looks like on the other side. And then if you go inside, and I'll hold this very carefully because I paid so much for it, here it is. And this is mint, baby. That is stone mint right there. And that is, if you look carefully, you can see the silver stereo at the bottom. And those of you collectors know that this was a short run. The silver stereos and the silver monos were short run. We'll talk about that again after I get through here. But this is it. This is my pride and joy in my collection, And I might be a little biased saying it's worth $500 only because I paid $300 20 years ago or so. But it's definitely up there. Number 8 on my list is Double Trouble on the orange label rigid vinyl. If you could find Double Trouble on the orange label, that's up there too. I mean, I think I saw it in Presleyanna like for $500, so it's another $500 album for sure. The reason being, it was a deleted album. I think after the orange label came out, it was gone. Which brings me to somebody who commented on my last show. I did tan labels. Said, oh, I'm excited. I got the tan label Double Trouble. I don't think so. I'll bet anything that is a Canadian pressing. I don't think Double Trouble was ever made on a tan label. And because of it being 1976, and there was never an orange, and I've been down this road before. So if you think it's on tan, it's not. But the orange label rigid is definitely worth big bucks because there was never a flex. That was the last pressing of Double Trouble until, of course, 1977 after Elvis died. So that's number 8 on my list. Number 7 is the AFL reissue of Girls, Girls, Girls. The AFL ones were really strange because at one point RCA made this decision that they were going to change the catalog number to AFL 1. And they started doing that just before Moody Blue was released, because you'll notice Moody Blue is AFL 1. And so around that time period, they were reissuing some of the albums. And how it all happened is a long story. And I could tell you that story, and I'll do it some other time, because I talked to a woman who worked at the Indianapolis plant when all this came down, and she told me all about the AFL ones. There is an AFL 1 of Girls, Girls, Girls. It was it's very hard to find. I think it's in the book for like $500. But the book is like 6 years old, so it's probably worth more than that, because I have not seen another copy of it. If any of you have seen it, let me know. I mean, that's great if you have. If it's out there and if it exists, that's wonderful. But as of right now, I only know of one that existed, and I know that because I'm the one who found it. And it's in Presleyanna, and I know the collector who bought it from me, and I think he paid like $500 for it. So it's number 7. Okay, let's move on now to number 6. Speaking of the AFL ones, number 6 is AFL one of It Happened at the World's Fair. And the person who found that was Paul Combs, who is the guy who runs the ElvisRecords.com website, which, by the way, is an excellent website. If you haven't seen it or you haven't been there, check it out. ElvisRecords.com. I remember when Paul found the record, he was all excited, and I think he made a banner on one of the pages that said, yes, it exists. So it's definitely up there in value. I would say it's the same value as the AFL one of Girls, 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 if not more. Number 5 is reissue of Girls, Girls, Girls. It's only a black label, by the way. It's an RCA 1976 black label reissue, but what really amplifies this value, it has the Return to Sender sticker on it. I was the one who found the first copy of this album, and I found it from a guy in Pittsburgh who was a huge Elvis collector, and he would buy multiple copies of every album. So one day he was set up at a show that I was set up at in Pittsburgh. And when I first saw it, there's a green sticker that says includes the hit Return to Sender. And I could tell pretty much that it was not an RCA sticker. And I remember asking the guy, where did this come from? And the story he tells, and this is the story, and I'm only quoting what he said. I'm not saying this is fact. He said that Elvis appeared on the East Coast. I don't know if he was referring to Pittsburgh or North Carolina, South Carolina, or somewhere. But when he was on the East Coast, he sang the song Return to Sender. Now, you people out there who are buffs on bootlegs know that there's a bootleg out there where he sings Return to Sender. So apparently, according to what this guy told me, this sticker was put on by a store or a distributor to kind of promote the song Return to Sender because it was so unusual that Elvis had sung this in concert. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know, folks, but I do know this. I know that I found the very first copy of it, and actually the guy who bought it found it or actually had it, but he had more than one. So I ended up buying like 3 copies of it. So I sold all 3 copies, and I believe at the time I got about $500 for that album, or maybe more. Okay, it could have been as much as 6. Carol's in the background going, okay, fine. So more than 500. But today it's probably worth more than 500 for sure. But anyway, that's a really hard record to find. I know many collectors looking for it, and I know people have discovered it. It's on Paul's website, ElvisRecords.com, if you want to check it out. This is a case where a sticker can really make the value of a record go up. Number 4, speaking of stickers, is GI Blues stereo or long play with the wooden heart sticker. And I think I showed you a copy of that a couple shows ago when I had found a copy of it. The wooden heart sticker is strange because I've seen it where the wooden heart sticker was on covers, right on the cover, which means RCA probably put the sticker on at the plant. I've seen it where the sticker was on a baggie. It could have been sent to record stores, and the record store guy could have put it on the baggie. I don't know, but I've seen a couple copies with it on the baggie. But this is a very, very hard one to get in mint condition. I mean, I've had it in like VG Plus condition. I think the one I showed you was a strong VG Plus, but it sells for $500 plus. I mean, I know people who paid as much as $800, $900 for it. If you could find it in perfect mint condition, GI Blues with the sticker. And it doesn't matter whether it's living stereo or the long play. Either one, it's that valuable. So GI Blues with the wooden heart sticker is number 4 on my list. Now, number 3. This is the Orange Label Rigid vinyl of It Happened at the World's Fair. I think I've only seen one copy ever. I know who has it. When he showed it to me, I couldn't believe it because It Happened at the World's Fair was deleted. It was a deleted movie title because it did not sell well. So I think there was, lesser pressings of the white top of it in 1964 because the album came out in 63. So what a big surprise to find out it was on an orange rigid. I think the estimate in the book was $800. I don't know if it's worth more than that now, but maybe. Remember, the last Presleyiana came out 6 years ago. And if it's $800 in the book there, it's just got to be worth more than that now. But that's number 3. It Happened at the World's Fair, orange label, rigid vinyl. And now we're getting down to the last 2. Are you excited? Nipper, are you excited? Number 2 on the list, Kissin Cousins with the Mono Dynagroove label. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, you may know that How Great Thou Art, the album, when it came out, the monaural version, at the very bottom of the label, it says Mono Dynagroove. Very unusual. I don't even know why they put Mono Dynagroove at the bottom. But for years and years and years, we all thought that was the only album that said Mono Dynagroove. Until one day, somebody found a Mono Dynagroove label of Kissin Cousins. Now, that would mean that it's a reissue. There was a white top monaural of Kissin Cousins, just a regular. So when in the world did this come out? When did a Mono Dynagroove come out? Who knows? But I've only heard of one. That is one super rare album. I think it's in the book, the old book, for $1,200. Boy, it's worth more than that. I mean, we're looking upwards of, it's got to be $1,500, maybe more, because I don't know if there's more than one out there. And believe me, folks, if you know of another copy, let me know. If you know what I'm talking about. But that's worth big bucks. Okay, so the movie soundtrack to Kissin Cousins, Mono Dynagroove label is number 2. And now, the moment that Carol has been waiting for. All right, maybe not Carol. The moment you people have been waiting for. And boy, this is going to be so easy as far as the number 1 most valuable movie soundtrack by Elvis Presley. Carol, what is it?
Speedway Mono.
Speedway Monaural. Yes, also known as Speedway Mono, but it is on the monaural label. Yes, the number 1 most valuable movie soundtrack is definitely Speedway Mono. And it goes back to what I was saying about the decline of the monaurals, because there was this kind of decline starting with, as I said, Double Trouble, then there was Clambake, then there was Elvis's Gold Records Volume 4, okay, which is up there, $1,000 or more. I've had a copy of Speedway Mono. I sold a long time ago. And I know I've seen other copies, so it's not super hard to find. I mean, I would think that the Mono Dynagroove of Kissin Cousins is harder to find, which means maybe that should be up there as number 1. Speedway Monaural in the book, I think, is valued at about $3,000, $4,000. There was one in an auction in Memphis, Tennessee, that Heritage Auctions had put on during the course of one of my shows. And there was a Speedway Mono there. Boy, I think it went for $2,500, $3,000. And that was a long time ago, folks. I actually witnessed somebody buy that in an auction. The thing about Speedway Mono is probably the only exception to the rule about the auctions, because the auctions really can tell you how high that Speedway Mono can go and what it is worth, because it seems like more and more people are willing to pay, thousands of dollars for it. But anyway, Speedway Mono is number 1 on my list. Okay, so let's talk about some honorable mentions. All right, these did not make the top 10, but I'm going to mention them anyway. Okay, the Clambake AFL1, Kissin Cousins without the cast photo on the cover with the silver stereo label. That's also a very difficult one to find, and I think it's right here. That's my copy right up there. And you'll notice there's no cast photo right here. No cast photo on the cover. King Creole long play, a mint long play of King Creole, the original, is up there, along with Loving You. Both of those soundtracks, being Elvis's first soundtracks, are definitely up there in value. I can't really place a number on them because, I mean, in the price guide, they're like all of these are listed at like $300, but I think they're probably worth more than that in mint condition. Again, mint condition. It happened at the World's Fair. Again. Honorable mention to the RCA White Top label of World's Fair. Again, this was an album that bombed, and even for it to get to a reissue, a 64 reissue, is really hard to believe. The Living Stereo is much easier to find than the RCA White Top. Go ahead and try and find it. And last but not least, same thing applies to Girls, Girls, Girls on the RCA White Top 1964 label. That's another one. Again, hard to find. Maybe not worth as much as the others, like 300. Anywhere maybe $200. They're worth somewhere in that range. But these are all honorable mentions because of their rarity. So let's talk about the value of these albums with bonus photos and the bonus photos, the inserts, and the giveaways. All of these that I mentioned that had bonus photos, like King Creole came with a bonus photo, would up the price. It Happened at the World's Fair had a bonus photo. That would up the price. But remember, those photos were giveaways in the store. The King Creole photo was sent with the album. So the record store owner had the option of putting the photo inside the baggie and sealing it. I've had copies of it that way. I know I've seen copies of it that way on eBay. So that was how that bonus photo, even though it didn't come inside the record, it came with it. The World's Fair photo was sent to the stores. And I remember as a kid going in and seeing World's Fair in the store. And right on the counter, in the record store counter, was a stack of World's Fair photos. You could just take the stack. Oh, you get a photo with the record. Oh, really cool. And you do that. Same thing with the Girls, Girls, Girls bonus calendar. That did not come in the record. It was in the record store. Another example of what I call a record store giveaway. And of course, the Kissin Cousins photo, which I'm going to do a whole show on that because there seems to be this big debate going on about that photo is actually a picture of Elvis in Viva Las Vegas, and it didn't really come with that. There's a June Kelly print that obviously looks like it's from Roustabout, but it was a giveaway with the Girl Happy album. Again, I know that because I remember buying the Girl Happy album and getting the poster. But then again, Roustabout was out at the same time, so maybe it was a giveaway at Roustabout. Well, we'll talk about that in another show. But those were all record store giveaways that came with the album. And if you have the album and you have the photo or whatever that came with it, it definitely increases the value. These prices I gave you were just the records. The silver mono label soundtracks, I did want to note that if it's a silver mono of like King Creole, which was a reissue at the time the silver monos came out, which is 63, okay, that is worth more than the Fun in Acapulco soundtrack, which came out first pressing with the silver MONO. So if you ever find a soundtrack that did not come out in 63, that came out prior to 1963 with an MONO, well, not just soundtracks, but just about any album came out before 63, and it came out with a reissue on the MONO, big bucks. Orange Rigid vinyls, I already talked about those, but keep in mind, again, we're talking about reissues. Anytime a soundtrack like the It Happened at the World's Fair showing up on Orange Rigid is big bucks. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is my top 10 list of the top 10 most valuable Elvis Presley soundtracks. So don't forget to send me your inquiries and want lists to collectingtheking@gmail.com. for pricing, shipping, and payment details. We have over 1,000 Elvis 45 CDs and LPs in stock, as well as RCA promotional items, sheet music, authentic Las Vegas and tour souvenirs, and more. We don't have a list or catalog available, which is why we encourage you to send inquiries and want lists. If we don't have something you're looking for, we might be able to find it for you. So don't forget to contact us at collectingtheking@gmail.com. Before we go, I wanted to mention again that I am selling on eBay. I want to thank those of you who watch the show who've been bidding on items and getting stuff from me for bidding, and I hope you enjoy what you've won. Also want to remind you about the show. Whenever the show is on, I usually hang out in the chat room for the premiere show. So keep that in mind for future shows. If you want to join me in the chat room, you can do that. So again, I want to thank all you viewers and subscribers for being a part of the show. I'm Robert Alaniz. This is the Collecting the King Show, and I am out of here.